The National Electoral Council of Venezuela requested the foreign ministry to bring the truth about the transparency of the Venezuelan electoral system to the world. Peru's National Congress denied the two motions demanding the impeachment of President Dina Boluarte. And in Palestine, medical staff in Gaza denounced that several Palestinian children are being admitted with bullet wounds caused by Israeli snipers. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The National Electoral Council of Venezuela requested the foreign ministry to bring the truth about the transparency of the Venezuelan electoral system to the world. The president of the Electoral Council, Elvis Amoroso, held on Thursday a meeting with the Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil to discuss the development of the electoral process and the presidential elections of next July 28, 2024. During the meeting, Amoroso pointed out that the doors of the country are open for international observers, but it would not allow them to interfere in the actions of the CNE and the electoral process. For his part, Foreign Minister Ivan Gil emphasized that invitations were sent to more than 67 electoral organizations, as well as to a series of personalities. The diplomat also reiterated that the country has a reliable electoral system of which the Venezuelan people can be proud.
And it is important for you to be the spokesperson of this power in order to clarify to any institution or any country that has doubts. We have the doors of the National Electoral Council of the electoral power open for all of those who want to come to Venezuela and for all those who want information. Before issuing any false statement, we recommend you to come here and we will show you what each one of the candidates representing different political parties did. That is the normal procedure. That is really being serious. And we ask you, Foreign Minister, to be the spokesperson for all this information.
Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil highlighted the positive results of the electoral power regarding the international accompaniment of the electoral process.
The last accompaniment was precisely in the election of governors and mayors in the year 2021, and the reports we all received were extremely positive. We have always had recommendations. The CNE has always assumed a proactive role to improve itself more and more in a system that is almost perfect because it listens first to the people and also the international monitoring and supervision. The Venezuelan Foreign Ministry has also made an effort to inform the world through the diplomatic representatives accredited in Caracas.
Likewise, the Venezuelan Foreign Minister pointed out that the joint accompaniment with the electoral power allows showing the world the strength of the Venezuelan electoral system.
We also feel very excited to be able to begin this accompaniment in this interaction with the electoral power that, as I repeat, allows us to proudly show ourselves to the world as a state with a strong electoral power, an electoral power that reflects precisely the will of the Venezuelan people, and that on July 28th will deliver to us precisely that result, that value, that decision of the people.
In Venezuela, the government rejected the recent declarations of Guyana regarding the law for the defense of Guayana Esequiba enacted by the executive branch. In an official statement, the government of Venezuela fully and categorically rejects the communique issued on April 3, 2024 by the government of Guyana on the enactment of the organic law for the defense of Guayana Esequiba. It also stressed that the approval of the aforementioned law is a sovereign act which is the sole responsibility of Venezuelans, and its objective is to defend and preserve the unquestionable rights of Venezuela over the territory of Guayana Esequiba. Likewise, it assured that Venezuela reiterates that it does not recognize the judicial mechanism as a means of resolving the territorial dispute with Guyana, as it excludes the nature and purpose of the Geneva Agreement, and it denounces this dangerous maneuver designed by ExxonMobil. Peru's National Congress denied the two motions demanding the impeachment of President Dina Boluarte. The Peruvian parliament, without any opportunity for debate, rejected the impeachment motions against Boluarte for the so-called Rolex case. Boluarte is accused of alleged illicit enrichment along with other crimes. The first motion presented accusing the president of permanent moral incapacity was rejected with 49 votes against and 33 in favor. The second motion, mentioning signs of alleged corruption on the part of Boluarte, with jewelry worth $500,000 was denied with 59 votes against and 32 in favor. During the second edition of his program on social media, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel provided an update on the regulated family food basket and the government's efforts to guarantee in spite of the strengthening of the U.S. blockade.
In the end, the products of the basket, the situation with these products, their quantities, all these issues have always been the same. And until a few months ago, we guaranteed the baskets on a regular basis. And at the end of the month, we always had the complete baskets in the stores and we distributed. What are the reasons why we are having this situation of incomplete baskets and delays? Because once more, the strengthening of the blockade comes up, which is real. And at this very moment, the strengthening of the blockade is affecting us in two main sectors. The energy sector, which is limiting us greatly because of the financial persecution, and every time we denounce that energy persecution, the politicians of the United States government say it is not true and that we are making it up, and it is getting increasingly difficult for us to guarantee that the fuel we need arrives in the country.
The Cuban head of state reiterated that the fuel shortage in the country caused by the U.S. blockade against the Caribbean island complicated the distribution of the basic food basket.
Therefore, the fuel issue, what we are suffering due to the lack of fuel because of the blockade, has been one of the main issues of the current situation we are passing through. And the other problem is the lack of financing, which also has to do with the intensification of the blockade. And it is a titanic task for us today to look for $230 million every month to guarantee the basic food basket, the products of the food basket that we have to distribute, and we have to make that clear.
The Cuban president also pointed out that U.S. policies against the island seek to stifle the Cuban economy.
The distribution of the basic food basket is one of the things in which every day, every hour, every moment, there are constant checkups. There are constant efforts to find ways to overcome all these difficulties, but it has to do with this aggressive genocidal policy with which we are being condemned for our desire to maintain our sovereignty and independence. As a country with self-determination, which is part of this strategy of economic asphyxiation supplemented on other occasions by media intoxication.
On Thursday, April 4th, we remember the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the prominent United States pastor and civil rights activist who was fatally shot in 1968 at the age of 39. Before being assassinated by James Earl Ray, he had been closely watched for decades by the FBI, which had labeled him as the most dangerous man in the country. From a child, Martin Luther King demonstrated a deep religious faith and great gift for oratory and debate. He suffered racial segregation in person at age 13 when he had to give up his seat on a bus to a white passenger for the sole reason that he was black. From then on, he set out to fight for equal rights for blacks and whites. On October 14th of 1964, he received the Nobel Peace Prize. After this recognition, the objective of his fight expanded, protesting also against poverty and the Vietnam War. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Those stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Medical personnel in the Gaza Strip denounced that several Palestinian children are being admitted to hospitals with bullet wounds caused by Israeli snipers. Foreign volunteers, doctors working in the Gaza Strip point out that from the type of wounds, as well as by the accounts of Palestinians who brought children to the hospital, the minors were direct targets of the Israeli forces. The medical personnel stated that the intensive care unit is full of infants with gunshot wounds to the head and chest. On the other hand, Gazan authorities report that the Israeli army is using armed drones capable of flying over the streets to attack the population in the area. Palestinian health authorities reported more than 1 million illnesses as a result of the escalating Israeli siege and the aggression against the Gaza Strip last October 7th. The report of the Health Emergency Operations Center states that there are at least 32,348 cases of hepatitis A. The number of respiratory infections exceeds 578,845 cases. It also reports several cases of acute diarrhea, skin eruptions, lice infections, scabies, and smallpox. The health agency highlighted the actions of the Israeli occupation forces that caused the destruction of around 155 health centers in Gaza and left some 53 medical facilities out of service. The Palestinian Prisoners Club reported the arrest of more than 60 journalists by occupation forces since the beginning of the Israeli siege against Gaza on October 7th. The organization detailed that most of the reporters were charged with alleged incitement on social media under the Administrative Detention Regulation. According to the Prisoners Club, this law allows Israel to arrest Palestinians without charges or trial for renewable intervals ranging from 3 to 6 months. The organization denounced that this Wednesday, Tel Aviv troops detained a female reporter. It also recalled that around 140 journalists have been killed since the beginning of the Israeli siege. Palestinians from Gaza abducted for 60 days at the Nasser hospital in Han Yunis by the Israeli army tell their experiences while in captivity.
I was with my hands tied 24 hours a day for 60 days and with my eyes covered. 60 days where I could not see anything. Like an Israeli dog. Not even to go to the bathroom was I allowed to see. Look at me how I look after 60 days without shaving. The food was a small piece of cheese in the mornings and in the evenings. 60 days and nothing changed. It was the same every day, and they had no compassion with those who were taken to the clinic. They brought them back and forth to torture and beat them.
Palestinian hostages in Gaza denounced that during interrogations, the Israeli occupation forces fabricate charges to hold them regardless of whether they are guilty or innocent.
They ask for everything you could possibly know. Who is your brother? Who is your neighbor? Do you know so-and-so? They had an open computer, and from there they would get information. For them, everybody was the same, guilty or not, who gave information and who didn't. Everybody was mistreated the same. They made up charges and sentences, that if you belong to a movement, they sentence you. That if you knew someone from Hamas, they charged you. I was interrogated by the intelligence agency. I have reached an age that I don't care what they're going to do to me. They bombed my son's house. I was wounded, and so was my brother.
Israel is on high alert awaiting an Iranian response following the deadly attack on the Persian embassy in Syria. After receiving an alert from their U.S. allies, they called up several ranks of reservists after deciding in an urgent meeting to reinforce their air defense system. A military spokesman confirmed to Israeli Channel 12 that the state of alert in the occupied territories has reached its maximum. Some legislators denounced that Benjamin Netanyahu's decisions against Syria, Iran, and Lebanon are taking the conflict to a dangerous and very significant scale. Parliamentarians claim that the premier is thinking of his political stability and not of the country. We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Russia, government authorities arrested mercenaries involved in a terrorist attack on the Crocus City Hall concert venue. The Federal Security Service reported the capture of a Russian citizen and 2 foreigners from the Central Asian region in Moscow, Ekaterinburg, and Omsk. Investigations have shown that 2 of those involved transferred money for the purchase of weapons and vehicles used in the attack, while the third was in charge of contacting, recruiting, and financing his accomplices. On Thursday, former South African Speaker of Parliament was arrested over allegations that she received about $135,000 in bribes in the latest corruption scandal to face the governing African National Congress Party. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Kakula was charged with 12 counts of corruption and 1 count of money laundering. Mapisa-Kakula maintained her innocence and suggested the charges against her were politically motivated, with the country set to hold national elections later this year. The developments follow weeks of controversy over allegations that Mapisa-Kakula received 11 cash payments from a defense contractor when she was Minister of Defense between 2016 and 2019. She was released on a $2,670 bail, and her case has been postponed to June 4th, with prosecutors saying they plan to add another defendant. Senegal marked on Thursday, April 4th, the 64th anniversary of its independence from France. The newly inaugurated President Bassirou Diomaye Faye attended the ceremony in Dakar. According to the state news agency FTS, this year's celebrations were reduced to a flag-raising ceremony because of the uncertainty which prevailed ahead of the March 24th presidential poll. Usually, Independence Day is celebrated with a civil military parade in the vicinity of one of Senegal's most emblematic squares, Dakar's Nation Square. This year's edition is under the theme Armed Forces at the Heart of National Cohesion. The celebration took place 1 day after Faye's first address to the nation. Senegalese now await the government to be unveiled. In France, the Olympic Aquatic Center, one of just 2 new facilities constructed in the Paris region for the 2024 Olympics, was inaugurated Thursday. The formal handover to the Paris 2024 organizers took place with the presence of French President Emmanuel Macron. The center's pool, which holds more than 5,500 cubic meters of water, was initially filled in mid-December 2023. Equipped with over 4,000 solar panels, the center's design aids in heating pool water to 27 degrees Celsius. According to architect Laurie Merriott, the building's concave wooden beam structure also efficiently limits the space requiring heating and ventilation. Featuring 5,000 seats for spectators, including 2,000 removable ones, the venue is set to host artistic swimming and diving competitions, along with the water polo tournament's qualifying rounds. Tourists and residents packed Tokyo's top cherry blossom spots on Thursday to enjoy the full bloom that has arrived later than usual this year because of cold weather in the Japanese capital. The elegant dark branches bursting with pink and white flowers, known as sakura in Japanese, spill over the moat of the Imperial Palace, where people gather to snap photos or simply take in the view. Sakura season traditionally accompanies the beginning of the new fiscal year in Japan, representing fresh starts, but also the fleeting impermanence of life. The Japanese Meteorological Agency declared on Thursday that the country's most common and popular Somei Yoshino variety of cherry tree was in full bloom 4 days later than average for the city. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.